I'm going to give you a brief video tour of the car. It's a 1988 Camaro RS, blue and silver. Paint's a little over a year old, but it's been a little beat up. There was a tree branch that fell while I was driving through a storm, and it spiderwebbed all over here and up into here. It's right about here. And that's from going over speed bumps. There's a dent here in the driver's door. I don't know if you can see it because the sun's behind me, but somebody opened their door into it, put a nice dent in here and bubbled the paint up, and then it started rusting. So there's a little bit of surface rust underneath right here, and a little tiny spot right here. And this is also from the same thing because it put a nice line in there. Or it could be from something different, I really don't know. But I noticed it all the same day when I came out of Walmart. And there's a little bit of rust under that. And then right here, that was from me opening my door into someone. We got a scratch on the back end here that happened the day after it was painted. So that kind of made me mad. The rear tires are 275 60/15 BF Goodwrench Essentia GTs with American Racing rims. The tires have a little over 9/32, or a little under rather, 9/32 of an inch of tread left, so there's still pretty much most of the life left on the rear tires. It does not have any of the RS emblems on it. The front tires are a 215 65/15 BF Goodwrench Essentia GT, and those have 9 or better on them, so they've pretty much got 90% of the tread life left on them. The tires, all four, have about 5,000 or 6,000 miles on them. The hood opens kind of crooked sometimes if you're using one hand. It's got a 1970s 350. Got a Holley carburetor on there, Edelbrock air filter, Edelbrock valve covers. The water pump's got about 6,000 miles on it. The alternator's got about 2 months on it. The battery is 9 of 08 is when it was made. It didn't get put in here till October. The blower motor needs replaced. That just went out on me yesterday. First time I had to turn the heat on, it worked for about 10 seconds. It's got an Excel super coil on it. Really cheap set of headers. I recommend replacing the headers and the exhaust. It has 2 electric fans, one on the back of the radiator and 2 small ones on the front of the radiator. Let's go to the interior. The door panels I made myself. They didn't look too bad when I made them, but the silver didn't hold up very well in the sunlight. And the dashboard and the door panels are both crushed velvet. The seats are pretty rough, so the seats will need some either reupholstered or replaced. I've got a B&M Mega Shifter in there with a Sony CD player, a Sun Pro tack, and then we've got electric fan, electric fuel pump, and another electric fan. The temperature gauge is actually under the dash, the amps gauge isn't hooked up, and the oil pressure gauge is hooked up, and that's also under the dash. The driver's seat is pretty rough. The material's torn, but it's only on this side. There's a few holes in it. The top of the center console is cracked, and that's also covered in silver crushed velvet. There are no back seats in the car. And the floor pan is all rubberized undercoating on the inside, just because it was lighter than carpet and it was cheaper than carpet. And the back panels didn't hold up very well in the wind. They came loose with the windows down, so those need re-glued. There is no headliner in the car, and the surround on the shifter is actually just fiberglass. There's a little bit of a gap in it on either side. I don't know if you can actually see it or not. And I'll fire the car up for you. Fan, fuel pump, pump the gas. At an idle of about 1,000 RPMs, the oil pressure is about 40 psi. It's idling around 1,000 RPMs right now. I don't know if you can see it, there's a pretty nasty glare on it. Voltage is good. And it's got almost a full tank of gas right now. We are at 27,039.6 miles. So I've put about 6,000 miles on the car since I put it together. And I'll show you the trunk. The trunk side panels are done all the way in velvet all the way through. The stereo system does not come with the car. I can sell it to you for a little bit extra, but I've got a very large MI audio amp, 2 old 15-inch kicker solar barracks, and a very small box. And this does not hold itself up. The shocks are bad on that. But it does have the electric pull down on the trunk, and it actually works. And other than that, we got one other small spot of paint. They got knocked off by a grocery cart at Walmart. That was about a week after I painted the car. And on the inside of the passenger door, the guy that I had sand the car down didn't do a very good job. The paint's coming back off. Well, this is all the more that came back off. I don't know. It doesn't even look like he sanded it right here. But on the outside of the car, it's pretty well held together. And there's also a little bit of the Bondo work. That's where the emblem used to be. The first time it got cold out, the Bondo cracked. But that's about the only Bondo in the car is right there. Other than that, it's solid. The exhaust needs redone. The headers were set up really poorly for this car, and so the exhaust sits way too low. But the underbody of the car is solid. It's got a new starter, new alternator, new battery. The water pump's relatively new. The transmission is a 350 turbo tranny. It's not the 700 R4. That's also a 1970s tranny. And the headers were new when I put the car together, but they were really bad. They were a real cheap set of headers. It's got a Comp Cam's 270H cam in it, new cam, new lifters, valve springs, valve stem seals. It's got the Edelbrock Performer intake, And it's got new calipers and pads on the front, and the rear is limited slip. It's not a posi. It's a one-wheel peel. And there's the car.